the Computer Camp for Adults. This is Abhishek. We're coming live from this beautiful studio right here from CloudFest 2018. And with me in the studio is a very special gentleman. Of course, we do business daily, but we also need oversight. And this is what he specializes in. It's technology futurist. That's the name that he goes by. And we have Ian Khan in the studio. So tell me more. First of all, you're here at CloudFest. How's the feeling?
Well, thanks for having me, Abhishek. I think CloudFest is the place to go to, and I said this in my videos that were pre-event, that if you want to be part of change, if you want to be part of industry, and cutting edge is an overused word, but I will still say it, cutting edge technology, you've got to be at CloudFest. This is Europe's largest cloud event. It's got everybody from hosting to infrastructure to hardware in here. Yes. And since morning, it's been crazy busy since morning. Sessions have been good, conversations have been good. So I think this is the place to be. Yeah. And thank you so much for having me.
It's actually not only Europe's, it's the world's largest gathering, because you won't believe this, we have 2,500 companies working in one sphere, and
that's
that
amazing.
is domain and hosting, and the others allied services.
That's
so
amazing.
This makes it the biggest one. What kind of conversations you've been having with people here? What's your general experience, your general experience?
So my general experience, what I do at events, I ask a lot of questions. I want to know from people what is driving them to be here or at any event. What is it sales? And yes, of course, sales and meeting people are the two things that everybody wants. Who would come to an event and say, no, I don't want to meet anybody? But for me, it's more than that. I ask them, what are some of the challenges your business is facing? How do you anticipate to change that here? Who are you looking forward to meet to? So this really helps me understand the mindset of the people, and it helps me in my research. This is what I write about. This is what gives me the fuel that I write about in my books. And so those are some of the conversations that have been happening. Last night we had a huge party, the Connections Party. It was a great opportunity to meet so many different people. But I think overall the theme that is emerging for me is that everybody is looking to go above and beyond what they do on an everyday basis at work. Every day they're busy with their core functions, but here they are in a different environment. Well, you're in Europa Park, so it's a different environment altogether, but then you meet your peers, your competition, and you're side by side with your competition, but it's not about competing with them here. It's about creating and channeling the industry towards a common objective, and that's what I like.
Yeah, and that common objective being growth. Now, coming towards growth, the key word, we also have that data is growing at a phenomenal, rate, and I think I read it on your website itself. We only use 2% of the data that we are generating. What does this mean for us? First of all, from the perspective of companies handling this data, and what are we going to do with this? Could you just share some insight on this, please?
Absolutely. So I'm going to take you back in time a few 100,000 years ago when man first discovered fire. So you can imagine when man first discovered fire, they started cooking a little bit food on it, and it was like, okay, let's do a little bit of grills, let's do a bit of skewers. But then fast forward thousands of years in the future, we have 100 billion uses of fire. We do so many things with fire.
We take it for granted.
We have something called fire.
We have something called fire.
Similarly, I feel that in time, in technological terms, we are at that point of infancy where we've just started generating this data. We're overwhelmed with big data and how much data is being generated by social media, by all other means. But I think we're using such a small fraction of it that it's not even being used to the extent that it can be used. Going into the future, maybe 15, 20, 50 years from now, when we have more capabilities of using this data, we have AI, as an example, developed to such an extent that it can analyze data and do much more with that. Maybe your mortgage, your credit will be given to you based on the big data that you've generated throughout your life. And that's your marker. Every person's identity will be their big data and not everything else. So I think we're still in the stage of infancy, and data has a tremendous amount of impact. We're seeing a little bit of that right now in healthcare, in autonomous cars, and all of these things are about collection of data and how we use that data. Connected cars, automated cars are all about the data. It's all about the data.
So, but conceptually looking at this, do you think are we at a stage not only at discovering the fire stage, but let's light a fire everywhere? Because we also have companies that are, let's generate data, but there's also got to be a concept or a conceptually right way of generating data and just not having data. Could you throw some insights from that, please? Because I don't want everything to know. Like, for example, if I want to know more about you, but I don't need all the data. It's what I need. So I'm just speaking data useful and versus data generation or collection.
So do you want to know more about the use of data or the generation part?
Yeah, the generation part, because we're right at that stage where we're discussing all this.
I think we're just discovering our ability to generate data. Companies today are just discovering this phase where now they can have a lot of customer data, environment data, production data, what have you data, any kind of data. In healthcare, it's a marker for everything your patients are doing. So I think we're just at that initial stage where we're just getting so excited with the fact that we can generate now a lot of data. We've got a lot of information.
It's like a feeding frenzy of sharks. You know?
It is.
Let's just go.
But as you know, we're still not there in terms of analyzing this data. We talk about artificial intelligence a lot and it's going to do all good things, but we're not at a stage where you can just put all this data into a system that can be efficiently built, that's efficiently priced, that's low priced, because barrier to entry is also a big challenge.
It's a big challenge.
You don't have this ability to plug in this data to somewhere and there you have all the results.
Accessibility to computing is also a challenge. That's what you're getting down to.
Absolutely.
Okay, now we find that, of course, first came the internet, then came social networks and all of this. The next technology that's going to impact everybody is going to be IoT, because right from a fridge to a fan to everything that we use is going to be interconnected. This is also going to generate user data, but along with this comes challenges too. So like privacy, getting hacked, because there was something that I read about a car where they used the Bluetooth to hack into the car's main console, the computer console. So could you share some insights about IoT? Just a brief about what's going to be happening next, where are we on with that, and the challenges that IoT also brings.
So great question. Some of the things that are coming up for the Internet of Things are in the area of connected cities or smart cities, where your infrastructure is connected, and it's not just connected because we like it being connected and we like playing on our apps. It's because it creates a lot of value for cities that are managing those cities in order of efficiency to optimize operations within that city. So for cities in general, it's a highly efficient way of making sure that things run smoothly. For citizens of those cities, countries, places, towns, it gives them functionality over things that they wouldn't previously have. For example, your building might be internet IoT monitored. It's a smart building. Your apartment knows when you're entering the home. It'll switch on the lights. Those are just consumer side of things. But from a building manager's point of view, the efficiency is tremendous.
Yes.
So that's one side of it. When you talk about connected cars, connected infrastructure, connected transportation, it's going to change the way we work. It's going to create a tremendous amount of efficiency in the logistics industry as such.
Logistics, yes.
I do a lot of work in the Middle East, and if you look at countries such as Dubai as an example, city like Dubai, they're investing heavily in infrastructure, automation, smart, and so on. Barcelona is such a great example of the Internet of Things enabled in a city where they've been able to save millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars in costs that they were incurring in the past to just manage the city, to manage garbage collection routes as an example. But now garbage cans are Internet of Things enabled, they're smart, they can tell you when they're becoming full, and then you can send your pickup trucks automatically and they'll pick up that. So that efficiency in routing those garbage trucks is savings in fuel, savings in time, cost, effort, and so on and so forth. So that's what the world is going to move to. This is where we're going. This is where we're headed. I mean, the smartphone that we look at today, and we can perhaps switch off and on a light. That's just the least amount of IoT.
That's just for the consumer basic home level.
Correct.
But we are talking about it from the government perspective, or a bit as you said, the guy managing the building.
Correct.
So we are talking from that perspective.
Correct.
But also now with this comes challenges. Like one, for example, is like I'm a normal day user. So I get very afraid if I'm going to be using equipment that is on the net. I don't know if someone's going to be monitoring me or could do something wrong with my system or play around with me in the good way, that I'm just using very simple terms to say the challenges that it poses to me. So could you throw some insights on this, that we are having technology that's going to enable us to do great things, but along with that comes the challenges. Could you share some insight on this?
Everything has challenges in life. I mean, if you look at our traditional world right now, forget about IT and we have technology around us. Anything that exists, your house, your car, your business, everything has locks on it right now. Anybody can pick that lock, steal your files, steal your equipment.
Yeah.
I mean, why are we surprised that technology, and I don't like it when technology is being made the bad guy. If you look at CloudFest right now, downstairs, there's hundreds of companies who specialize in security. They are pushing the boundaries of making sure that, hey, we've got the best firewall, we've got the best capabilities, and that's the reality of the situation, that as technology becomes more complex, it becomes more complex to create security solutions that say, okay, 100% security, but there's still a chance that somebody might hack into it, because the bad guys are working equally faster and harder to find
different ways to get in,
ways to hack in. So there will always be hacking, there will always be security challenges, but the fact of the matter remains that we've got to find a way to have a different relationship with our environment. So for example, the newer technologies that protect your money, as an example,
blockchain
is not a traditional bank anymore, right? So it's blockchain powered. Let's say it's Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies. They have a completely different mechanism of being secure, but then they're still not secure, right? They're still not secure. There's an example of a cryptocurrency that just launched, and they're looking for an actual physical bank vault to store all the codes, because they don't trust the network anymore. So that was such a funny story that I read a few days ago.
And that's digital, but yet staying analog.
We are in a constant paradigm of change, and this will continue to happen. I don't think that should stop us from adopting to technology. Because there's many more good points than the bad points. There will always be hackers, but then the way we deal with information is different. The way we store information is different. So we'll see what the future brings.
Future holds. And coming here at CloudFest, now this is, as you said, cutting edge, right? It's because everybody's here, and it's about taking the industry forward. What are your key takeaways for the whole industry out here? What are the challenges you think they will be facing in the coming days?
I think the biggest challenge that anybody faces, whether it's people downstairs, their customers, their partners, or the industry worldwide, the challenge is not creating something faster, bigger, more expensive, or something that does more. The challenge is more working with people and how to propagate that change that we together can create. The biggest challenge literally downstairs is not whose technology is the fastest, but it's about who can I connect with so that we can together work on a solution that helps people out there. A lot of people are very financially driven, which is great. So you need revenue to come into your company, you need to make those numbers. But I really believe that the financial side of things, the revenue side of things, is a side effect of creating value. The more value you create for a community or customers or the world, the more revenue you will automatically generate. So it really depends on where your company is focused and what you do. I teach the 7 axioms of value creation, and none of them are about technology. They're not about let's create the fastest technology. They're more about let's figure out the nuts and bolts of how we can create change, and how do we translate that into treating people better, into growing our organizations from inside out rather than just putting a band-aid solution and just moving forward. So I think, to answer your question, the challenge is not technology. The technology is an opportunity to move forward. The challenge is to work with people, and how can we find a way to shake hands with other people, even if it's your competition, to move forward and create value for the world out there.
So it's more about the value between people that's more important. Now I'm going to put a trick question to you.
Go for it.
Where does Mr. Khan stand on the doomsday prophecy of AI? The self-aware AI versus AI serving humanity. Where do you stand on this?
I think
there's a big debate going on, so
absolutely.
I just thought I'll get this out from you.
I think I'm excited as well as afraid, and there's.
Why is that? Give us both. What's the excitement?
I'm excited because that self-aware AI can solve a lot of problems. I mean, we've got 2.5 billion plus people in the world today that do not have access to basic healthcare. They can't go to a doctor and get a tablet and feel better. And there's a million plus people without fresh water. There's just so many challenges of the world with war, famines, so on and so on and so forth. And we have been unable to solve those problems. We're doing nothing about them, even though we want to, but we can't. So I'm hoping that self-aware AI is able to come up with solutions that we don't have right now. And plus enhance the quality of our lives and our children and the future and make the world a better place. The negative point is that I'm afraid that if that AI becomes evil, and that's
self-aware and saying things, humanity itself is the problem, the way we see it in the movies.
Exactly. And that would be a phase where we are not yet. I believe we are maybe 15, 20 plus years from that point, and we will know by then where we are at. I'm hoping that during this time, during right now to the next 20 years, we would have learned by designing those systems that what are some of the challenges we're facing with it, and we can build those kind of the safety points to work with it. I'm not saying we can just switch it all off, but to work with it and how can we move forward. I don't know yet. We'll see.
So can I sum it up as tread down this path, but with caution?
With caution. Proceed with caution.
Proceed with caution.
Yeah.
Okay, one last question before we come to an end to this session. One word that defines CloudFest for you.
I would say it's change. Change for the good, change to make things better, and change towards the positive side.
Okay, so the key word from him is change for us here at CloudFest. It resonates with C. C is for CloudFest, C is for change. And thank you, Mr. Khan, for being here in the studio.
You're very welcome, Abhishek. Thank you so much for having me.
And all of you watching this, keep tuning back in. I'll keep getting you scoops like this from backstage, from what's happening here. And of course, please keep using our hashtag. It's CloudFest. And with this, I'll see you back again. And I'll get you some more good news. With that, bye-bye. Ciao. See you.